Hi guys, how are you? I gotta say, I've been thinking in an American setting, how can we solve black on black crime? I have to think about this, but I heard someone say something, and I had to sort of grasp that and think around it and see how it can happen. Imagine if every black kid in America, I was 12 years old, from 12 years old, or even from the time they're born, but let's say 12 years old, they get life insurance. Everybody, let's say $1 million life insurance, all of them. If you got 5 kids, you pay for their life insurance. You know, if 60 people have been killed every week, that is $60 million that's going to come into your community, into that community. $60 million. So could be 60 families becoming millionaires, right? Now, before you say, oh, that's crazy, it's more like selling people. People are dying anyway. We're trying to find a solution here, all right? Now, this is what's going to happen. 2 things can happen. Is that insurance companies, which are very, very important in a capitalistic society, insurance companies will start pushing the government to bring measures to make these cities healthy or safe. Because of the amount of money they are losing into these neighborhoods. That's sort of an outcome that I'll be hoping for, where these insurance companies say, you know what, they'll push the government, there's money involved. I'll tell you what, there's nothing that gets people moving in a capitalistic society than money. When money is involved, things happen. So we can have Wall Street now telling the government to change or to do something about these communities because they're giving out so much money in life insurance. That's an outcome I'll be hoping for. The second outcome could be that they make the price of life insurance in these areas so exorbitant, you can't afford it. Now, we have to go and protest. If the prices go up too high, we gotta go and protest. You gotta use money to fight some of these things, or else nothing is gonna happen. Because already they just change everything. Remember how woke is being changed. Woke is just being aware and actively and tentatively involved in social, being aware of social facts. But listen to this. Everything that's bad these days, it's been attached with woke. It's this woke community. The woke community did this. The woke community did that. The woke community. That's what they're saying. But working from home, that's woke. That was women getting the right to vote. That was woke society. But anyway, that wasn't the purpose of this video. How about in Africa? How can we eliminate poverty? I'll tell you how and why it's very hard to eliminate poverty in Africa. Because Africans don't run their economy. That's the first thing. There's no country in this world that's developed where they don't run their economy. Japan, they run their economy. The Toyotas, the Nissans, all these different cars and the other technology in Hitachi and all these companies, they are all owned and run by Japanese. You go to Taiwan Semiconductor, it's a Taiwanese run company. They're making all the semiconductor, most of the semiconductor in the world. That is a Taiwanese run company. Let's go to South Korea. You got Hyundai, you got Kia, you got Samsung. All those companies are owned by South Koreans. You go to China, Huawei, BYD, Alibaba, all of them owned by Chinese people. South Koreans own their stuff. Japanese own their stuff. Taiwanese own their stuff. In Africa, we don't own our stuff. We don't even own the banks. Most of the banks that are operating in Africa are foreign banks run by big corporations, big hedge funds, like the Vanguards and the BlackRock of this world, the Schwab and Fidelity. They invest in these banks and they take their money. This is why it's very hard, because they're like Trojan horses. This is why if you look at the currencies of African currencies, they don't do very well, because they pump and dump. When they want to make some changes, they'll buy it up, and it looks like it's doing great. And the moment maybe everyone gets happy, oh, it's this president is doing so well. The moment, if they want to get rid of that president because he said something that's against them, they dump the money. And then the currency loses value. They do this on New York Stock Exchange. They do this everywhere, because they have Trojan horses, who are these banks that they control, that are operating all across Africa. The stock market that's in Africa is all run by these guys. All of it. Africans themselves don't even participate in the stock market. All right? So how can we start eliminating poverty? The number one thing is we got to change our education system. We got to make sure that farming, if you go to the reason for the education system is to change the mindset of the people. And farming has to be a priority. You have to prioritize farming. Everybody and everyone has to be involved. We don't even have to have like a lot of big farms, but everyone should have a garden at their home. Everyone should have some chooks at their home. Everyone should even have a goat at their home. And then you can move and get bigger and bigger with that. The mindset that the African kids have right now is farming is bad. How stupid is that? When you go to China, their economy is still relying on farmers. The biggest part of the economy is farming. And remember, there's 1 billion people over there, and it's farming. If you go to US, even though less people farm, there's more land. The only thing is they've mechanized everything and use all these different seeds that healed a lot of stuff. That's why cancer is up and all sorts of things are up. But that's how they operate. You can have 1 million American farmers and they can produce millions of tons of food. But we don't need to be like that. As long as a lot of people are involved in farming, we will be able to bring down the level of poverty down. It's something young Africans are finding out. Just grow some seedlings and people are making money. They're making more money from that than actually going and looking for a job. And that's the mindset we have to change from school. Now, when we do that, we should start making sure that by the time someone graduates high school, we should come up with the system to determine what these kids are good at. They could be at photography. They could be mechanically able. They could be computers. Maybe it could be the arts. Maybe it could be all these things. We need to recognize them at a very young age, to a point where if they don't want, let's say they do a bit of mechanics, like automotive mechanics, they don't have to go to university for them to start operating on cars, unless they want to go and specialize or something. Then they can go to university. Hey. Then they can go to university, okay? But then they can go to university. But otherwise, they don't have to. They don't have to go to university. They can go to like intermediate college or something, where they can just brush up on what they've learned. But we want people, when they're leaving high school, they are ready to do something with their hands. The second part now, now we have to bring back African spirituality, and we have to bring back communalism. What do I mean by this? If you go to an African country, when they say the economy of this country is, let's say, $20 billion, you gotta multiply that by at least 4. And that's me being conservative. In some places, you gotta multiply that by 10. And that's the true economy of that country. The reason why I say that, people got money, they just don't put it in the banks. They hold it. But if we can ask every person, we go in smaller communities and ask every person. Already people do this. There's a thing called, what is it called? I can't remember probably the English word for it. Is when there's 10 women come together, and every month one woman received, let's say, $10,000, just an example, from all the other women. And it goes like that. But that doesn't, when women get that money, let's say $10,000 from 10 people, you get $90,000. I mean, from if there's 10 of you, so 9 people, you get $90,000. Usually the people will just get that money and buy the stuff they want to buy in the house. They'll buy a fridge, they'll buy a TV, they'll buy a car, blah, blah, blah. That's it. And then it goes again. But we should be able to change that. We should start creating funds where we say, you know what? We want every person every month to contribute $1. You know, if we got 1 million people contributing every month, that's $1 million. By the end of the year, we got $12 million. You know, $12 million, you can start your own mine. And that's how we start owning our own things. And if that continues, well, $12 million is being received every day. But remember now, once we start investing that money, it means that money now becomes shares. Every time you buy them, but initially, every person that contributed to that, when we start something, they're going to own some shares in that company. You know, this is like before IP. You know? So, by the time it goes onto the stock market, these people that started that already, they're millionaires. It's something that's happening with SpaceX right now. All the engineers, they are buying shares in SpaceX right now. And when SpaceX goes on, has its own IPO, all those engineers are going to be millionaires. Some of them might even be billionaires, because SpaceX is going to be huge, huge. So if we use the same philosophy, but now in this case, what we're trying to do is to get everyone involved, and the money is made for everyone benefits. You know, the companies should be mainly for the community. And what I was going to say, non-profit, not for profit, but then we want to grow. So we definitely have to make profit. However, we are going to give dividends, and there will be hefty dividends. Because if we can start doing those things, because people then, they can have the generation wealth will start being created. Because someone could have those shares and pass on to their kids. You know, and we just keep growing and growing and developing in different things, because there's so many things that needs investing in. We can invest in farming, in mining, in technology, in manufacturing. We can invest in all these industries. But the problem is we don't have money. Most of the time, they rely on foreign investors. We don't need foreign investors for us to do what we got to do. Okay? Thanks, guys. Think of that. Thank you. Have a good one. Goodbye.